Hey everybody, Tony here, and welcome back to TTBurger Game Reviews. And I'd like to welcome you all back to my TTBurger Strike Series review. And this is part 2 and the final part of this series review. And those of you who missed what happened in part 1, here's a quick little TTBurger recap to show you what you missed. In part 1, I took a look at Soviet Strike, the PlayStation version. It was also released on the Sega Saturn, and I gave it a 9 out of 10 because of the brutal difficulty being all over the place at times, and that there was no in-game map or radar for you to look at, and you had to keep pausing to check the map to see if you were heading in the right direction and stuff. But aside from those problems, it was still a fantastic game, and I recommend you all to pick it up and stuff. And well, I never played the Sega Saturn version, so whatever version you pick up, you will enjoy. For today's episode, we're going to be looking at the final game in the Strike series. There was supposed to be Future Strike that came after this, but that got cancelled and turned to Future Cop LAPD, which I will not be looking at, like I said, because that's a spin-off in my opinion, and it doesn't have really anything to do with the Strike series. But for today's episode, we're going to be looking at Nuclear Strike. And this game was released on the PlayStation, and then the PC, and then the Nintendo 64, known as Nuclear Strike 64. We're going to look at the PlayStation version, because it's the only version I have. Ah yes, Nuclear Strike. The funny thing is about this game is that I did not know that it was a sequel to Soviet Strike until after I got the game, where it said on the bottom of the case, the sequel to Soviet Strike, and I was like, whoa, this is a sequel to Soviet Strike. I thought, well, this is pretty cool, and like, it made me excited to want to play the game because I liked Soviet Strike, and I liked it. I thought it was a fantastic game, like I said, and I was interested to see what Soviet Strike would be like. And interesting enough, this game improves a lot over Soviet Strike. It fixes some of the frustrating problems that I had with Soviet Strike and makes it better, but there are still a couple complaints that I have with the game, but this game is going to be getting a higher score than Soviet Strike, definitely. Now, to start things off here with Nuclear Strike, let's talk about the story, and the story is pretty much the same as it was last time. You are the commander of the strike team, and you're flying around in the Super Apache and stuff like that, solving missions to try and stop a war and stuff like that. But here's the kicker. One of the improvements in this game is that you're not just flying the Super Apache. You fly other vehicles as well. You get to fly a Huey, you get to pilot a hovercraft, and a bunch of different helicopters at the same time and stuff. And you're not just in the sky. You also can drive ground vehicles and stuff as well. So you're basically the commander of the Strike series, doing all that stuff and completing the missions and such. And I gotta say that that's where it improves a lot. Like, the story is basically like the same song and dance as before, but just a little bit more in depth and stuff, in my opinion. Still got the cool looking FMV cutscenes and stuff like that. You still have Captain Earl. You still have the tech guy Hack, and then you also have the spy reporter Andrea Gray and such. And they're all here along with a couple of new characters as well. Sadly, Nick Arnold's not in this game because, little spoiler here, he dies in the first mission started. So if you wanted to hear Nick Arnold's cheesy pickup line and stuff like that, sadly you won't be able to. But it doesn't mean the story's better than that, or it affects the game at all. It's just saying that you get new characters this time and stuff, and that's what I'm saying. We already talked enough about the story. Let's get back right on track and talk about the presentation. Now, the presentation here is fantastic looking and stuff. The presentation is still looks awesome. It's a little better than Soviet Strike. I mean, sure, like the in-game graphics, like the vehicle models still look kind of blocky, but they're not as blocky as they were in Soviet Strike and stuff like that. Like Nuclear Strike improves them quite a bit and stuff like that, and the frame rate still kind of bogs down a little bit, stuff like that. But like it's not as noticeable as it was in Soviet Strike. Nuclear Strike did improve that there as well. And also for the fact that the FMV cutscenes look nice as well. They look on par with Soviet Strike's FMV cutscenes and stuff. And there's actually more FMV scenes this time too. Like there's more of them in the in-game missions, stuff like that too. It's like it's got some small ones here and there, and they definitely do improve a lot here in the presentation, aside from the frame rate still being a little choppy at times. But it doesn't affect the game for me at all, because it's the graphics and stuff. Sound is still my least favorite part of this game. Like Nuclear Strike sound, like the song you hear in the main menu is awesome and kicks ass. I love the song you hear in the main menu, but the rest of the soundtrack is just not that good. I mean, like, it's very forgettable aside from that one song. But like the sound effects for like your vehicles, like your gun turrets and stuff like that, and missiles firing, those have improved. Like last time it sounded like pop guns, stuff like that, or like weak toys. Here they actually sound like actual gun stuff. That's an improvement there. And so they definitely improved a lot there, and also the acting in the FMV scenes and during in-game mission briefing stuff that is still on par and just top-notch and stuff. It just, they did a great job. Electronic Arts did a great job trying to find actors and stuff like that to try and fit the roles of the characters and stuff. Like my favorite character in the game is Earl, because he's like the boss, the head honcho, and he does a good job and such. And like Earl, I should mention that the guy who played as Earl, I forget his name, was also played as Vince from the Secret World of Alex Mack. He was one of the main antagonists. This and stuff like that in that series. I thought I might point it out there. I forget his name, so I'm sure I'll remember later on, but right now I just don't remember his name. But that's just off topic though. But like now let's get into the meat of the game, the gameplay. And the gameplay is definitely the best part of Nuclear Strike, and it has improved a lot since then. One of the main complaints I had with Soviet Strike was that there was no in-game map or anything like that, and yet he paused to look at the map to find out where you had to go. This has been fixed for the most part, because now during the missions you have an arrow to show you where to go, and you don't really have to spend a lot of time looking at the in-game map and stuff. However, you still do have to look at the in-game map sometimes just to be sure you're facing the right direction and stuff like that, because sometimes the arrow can get you lost sometimes. But for the most part, this has been fixed, and this is a major improvement for me, because having to pause to look at the map every 10 seconds or so in Soviet Strike was a turnoff, and just having to pause to look at the map every 10 seconds in Soviet Strike was a big problem for me, and I'm glad they were able to fix this. So I'm just glad that like now you have an arrow and stuff too, and the difficulty has also been improved as well. Like it's more balanced here this time, and like, of course, it's still a challenging game and stuff like that, but the difficulty feels more balanced. There's not like a lot of cheap deaths with your helicopter, and so like how it was in the last game. But still, Nuclear Strike did improve here. I know I'm saying that Nuclear Strike improved a lot over Soviet Strike, but it did. And like my favorite part about Nuclear Strike in the gameplay is, like I said, you get to commandeer different types of vehicles. Like you get to pilot a Huey, or a hovercraft, or a Comanche, or a Harrier, and more and more and more. Like you have tons of vehicles and stuff like that, and you're not just flying in the sky. You're flying. You can also be on the ground too, and like I do like this. However, some of the vehicles can be very weak. Like the Huey lacks speed, but it's powerful and stuff like that. And like the hovercraft is very slow and stuff like that too and stuff. But it's just that, like the vehicle, it's good to have a variety of vehicles. You don't just want it to be a copy and pasted sequel like how it was last time and stuff. So they improve a lot here. And there's like 6 missions this time instead of 5, and they're very long still as well. It's like I like how that they're able to make up with the short amount of missions by making them long and stuff, and it actually works here too, and it's good. And it's like I said, this game is chock full of FMV scenes as well. Like you'll be spending half your time watching mission briefing scenes too, and watching info videos about your objectives and stuff too. And this game is chock full of that FMV stuff. And like there's just really a lot here. Like you first start off you start off like in a base, and you go to like an island and stuff like that, and then more and more it's just like a lot of cool stuff here. And when you beat the game, you can see a trailer, a spoiler here, you'll see a trailer for the canceled Future Strike, which became Future Cop LAPD, but I didn't really care, because like I said, I think Nuclear Strike ended perfectly and stuff like that. The Future Strike just has nothing to do with it, but it's still a good game though. But like Future Cop LAPD, but that's just off topic though. But like, yeah, it's like there really isn't much else to say here. I mean, like this game is awesome. I mean, like I do have some complaints though. Like I said, that the music still isn't that great, and the frame rate can kind of bog down a little bit, and you still have to look at the map a couple times and stuff. But the difficulty has improved, and having that in-game arrow to help you, to show you where to go, like with the nav point stuff, definitely helps a lot. And like I definitely have to say that when it comes to the Strike series, my favorite one, Nuclear Strike is definitely my favorite one, because it fixed a lot of the problems that Soviet Strike had and made it better. But both these games here are awesome. I mean, I love both Soviet and Nuclear Strike, and I've been a fan of them since I was a kid, when I saw my cousin play them play Soviet Strike on Thanksgiving back in, I can't remember what year it was. I think it was 1997 or 1998, one of those years that I saw my cousin play it, and ever since then I've been hooked on to these helicopter combat games ever since. So what's my final verdict here for Nuclear Strike? Well, Nuclear Strike is a fantastic game and a great sequel to its predecessor, Soviet Strike. Both these games are amazing, but Nuclear Strike improves on some of the problems I had with Soviet Strike. Definitely pick both these games up if you can, because they're both worth your money, and you'll get your money's worth from playing either of these games. I mean, yeah, this one has some of the problems, like I keep looking at the map and stuff like that, and it's got the difficulty can be frustrating, but it's still a fantastic game. Nuclear Strike here just improves on that and stuff, and I definitely gotta say, when it comes to either of these games, I actually like this one better because it improves over the difficulty, and like it has the arrow to look at the map and stuff, where you don't have to look at the map or anything like that. But what score am I gonna give this here? Well, since I still do have like, well, it still has like some frame rate issues, and you have to look at the map sometimes stuff, and like the music is still not the greatest stuff, I will be taking some points off of this, but I'll be giving it a higher score than Soviet Strike. I'll be giving this a 9.5 out of 10. It's definitely worth that score. And that's pretty much what I gotta say about these two games here. I mean, I know, like I said, there's FutureCraft LAPD, which was supposed to be Future Strike, but to me, that is a spin-off because it basically has nothing to do with the Strike series and stuff, and basically it's its own game. I will look at the game in the future, but as of right now, I just want to look at these two games for this episode. But in the future, yes, I'll probably look at Future Strike and give you my thoughts on that. And like, I would like for like to have more helicopter combat games these days and stuff like that, but it seems like the helicopter combat genre is just dead because we don't really see that many of these games anymore. But I gotta say, like, for this time, Electronic Arts did a great job with these games. I mean, they definitely popularized on the helicopter combat genre and made it popular for its time, and made it awesome back then because there were tons more helicopter combat games that came out after this, and we gotta thank Soviet Strike and Nuclear Strike for this. And these two games are definitely worth it. And that's pretty much all I have to say for this episode. You know what to do. Subscribe, like the video, comment down below. Don't forget to join my Discord group, TTBurger Gamers United, because we're always looking for more people to join. That's pretty much all I gotta say. This is Tony. Peace out, and have a great day, everybody.